What's going on, guys? Abrasus here, recording from the new location. Today we have another episode of PimpMyList. So at the beginning, I would like to introduce some new rules to how those videos will look like after this one or after next one. I will gather all the submissions till first day of next month. So the next submissions will be till 1st of November. Then I will pick one of those lists. I will try to play some games with it and talk to some players for the army, just to make sure that I am not mistaken on my observations. And I'll try to answer at least one, at least shortly to every other list sent. The thing about those new rules is that I would rather have more quality videos than quantity. So I felt like I need to improve on that. So I want to at least have some games to have a better feeling of those armies and not just a deployment. So today we'll talk about Warriors of the Dark Gods, and there's the list that was sent to me originally. It is a bit strange list for me, especially the core distribution with the barbarians that, yeah, have no real purpose, with the Chimera that looks a bit out of place here. So the nice things about this list is the flexibility of Double Herald. You have lots of chaff, and you have some units with decent punch. You have the Feldrax, you have the Chosen Knights, you have 2 Exalted Heralds, and you have like 1,000 scoring units, which is both a pro and a con. Since there is a scenario of capture the flags, but also scoring units usually tend to be more expensive than the units with similar role that are not scoring, for obvious reasons. So if you put like 7 scoring units in your army list, you will probably not use scoring as much on them. So you are paying for something that you are not using. Other cons, yeah, you don't have much models, you don't have much range threats except for the Comet maybe, but I wouldn't rely on that, definitely. Like, divination is absolute nightmare for this list. Like, the heralds get obliterated, the plus initiative, yeah. There are some units with no clear purpose, like the barbarians, the barbarian horsemen, which cost a lot but do not very much more than just the unit of dogs. Then you don't have much magic. The core is overcrowded, as I said, and you have some problems like if you pay attention here, you have only leadership 8 general unless you take the manifestation, but the manifestation is not as good. So you will be running into problems like panics on barbarians, panics on the Feldrak. Like, panics on barbarians are okay, you can live with that, but panics on Feldrax can be really annoying. Okay, so here is the example deployment for me. The idea was that the Herald can hide behind the Chimera and then push from the impassable terrain side. The Feldrax are pretty much as effective in 4 as in 2x2, so they are pretty likely to stand like this, to not take that much deployment. And then you have the barbarians that can be probably treated as chaff, but it also depends on the scenario. So what I like and what I don't like at this list, I think double heralds are fine. Like, many people around here are playing this, but I definitely think that the Chaos Warriors block in the core is overpriced. Then the barbarians, completely useless. If I want to have barbarian horsemen, I would much rather give them light lances and pay those points. And then I would just swap Feldrax for another Chosen Knights, especially if you don't have the BSB. And then we have a Chimera that I think is just not worth its points currently. Things like Giant do the job much better, even though they are slower. So unfortunately, the guy who sent me the list sent me the corrected version of this list, which is pretty interesting. But I have some troubles with this as well. So as you can see, he removed one of the heralds and exchanged him for Barbarian Chief on Chimera and the Sorcery Master. Then he left the Barbarians in because he has a Sorcery Master now. But he made a very good change of making the Chaos Warriors block bigger. Then he put 2 times Chosen Knights, and the Barbarian Horsemen stayed as they were, but Warhounds appeared. So there are some good changes, there are some bad changes. I think that the Master of Alchemy, the Master part is unnecessary. I think Adept should be enough, since in Alchemy you don't get much from being a Master. Then either you go with Barbarians or you go with a Sense of Mithril and paired weapons, especially paired weapons on a Strength 3 guy, not really good thing. So if you want to have Barbarians, then you don't need to protect your mage and you don't need to waste points on that, I guess. Also, Barbarian Horsemen, I don't think you need 2 times Barbarian Horsemen, 1 should be enough. And Chosen Knights, here he decided to go Envy. I think there are better favors for Chosen Knights, especially Wrath or Lust. And the Warrior Chariot seems a bit unnecessary and just put in the list because there were some points left. So my ideas on improving the second list, because I'm not dealing with the first list since we already have a corrected version of it. So I decided to leave the Barbarian Chief on Chimera in, and made Sorcerer on Adept. To be honest, I would prefer to have a Sorcerer on the Dragon than the Barbarian Chief on Chimera plus Sorcerer Adept, because I think the Sorcerer on the Dragon is a really nice pick. I reduced the Chaos Warriors a bit because the core was again a bit overcrowded. I removed 1 Barbarian Horseman, and I think that Chosen Knights with Wrath and Flaming Banner, this is a concept used in English Warriors of the Daggers list. I think it's really nice, especially with the Adept of Alchemy. Okay, also the thing is, here warriors have Flaming Banner. I don't know if I'm a fan of that. They have paired weapons, yes, but I would rather have a Banner of Relentless Company here. But I'm not sure if I just don't like the gimmick of Flaming Banner, but yeah, that's my personal thing. Also, I went with Marauding Giant with Club and Giant with Monstrous Familiar. So the Monstrous Familiar Giant is here to improve a bit on magic, since we don't have a Master of Sorcery anymore, Master of Alchemy anymore, and I think that Monstrous Familiar have very interesting spell choices. And then we have Marauding Giant with Club. Both giants help with survivability on Herald and on the Chimera. I think this list is 4496 actually, sorry. Okay, so some more thoughts on Warriors of Daggers. Sorcerer, both Apprentice and Adept on Wasteland Dragon. A very interesting pick. On Apprentice you can make him as cheap as, I think, 605. But to be honest, you probably need a Hero's Heart just to make him better. Hero's Heart, I think 665 is then the cheapest Sorcerer you can get. He must be the General, but it's not much of an issue, especially because he has 18 in General now. You can go with full Barbarian Horseman core. This is something we've had some ideas about. So this was 3 times Barbarians and 1 times Dogs. This is, I think, 901. So very hard to make more perfect core setup. The Monstrous Familiar on Wasteland Giant, as I already presented. I think the spell choice for the Wasteland Giant there is excellent, and especially with improved Breath Weapon from Occultism, it looks very good. The Chosen, the 5 man units and 10 man units, I think 5 man units are a bit more interesting, especially with Wrath, since you have, if your opponent doesn't get rid of them, then you have 15 attacks with Strength 6, Initiative 6, which is very good. And if he gets rid of them, they are not going down as easily, and you have all your other units intact. Warriors with Great Weapon are also a choice, especially if you want to go with Relentless Company. Great Weapons are pretty cheap on Warriors. And if you want to try them, I think they are a very good option. Yeah, the thing that I mentioned, the Chosen Knights with Last, many people in Poland use them because of their tactical uses, like especially the Strider, but also you can make use of the fleeing part, where you can just go with the longer charges, and if you fail them, then just flee, which is impossible with any other mark in Warriors of the Dark Gods. The last thing that I would like to point out for the Warriors is the Helma. I'm not really convinced by it, but Team Germany used it to use it on the ETC, and I think they did pretty well with it. I think it's a very good point denial unit, and if your opponent is not prepared for that, then you can maybe even use it more to push and to overwhelm him, especially if you have slower units like Warriors and you don't want to give them the Relentless Company banner. But I would say it is a bit of a gimmick, and if someone knows the rules well, they can defend themselves against it pretty well. So not sure if this really is that good. But if your opponent doesn't have much options to pressure you, then the Helmo can definitely save you the point and probably win the scenario, right? Okay, so guys, that's the video. Sorry again for the audio today, since I'm a bit sick. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Cheers!